Hello, I'm so excited to be a part of this Global Women's Conference, and especially because I'm so closely associated with the convener, Bernie Davies. And I've been asked to share because very unexpectedly I've become an author, and I wanted to share just some of the things that I have learned through this process. And it starts in the strangest way with your presenter, your convener. The fact that she was, and still is, my little sister. But she was my annoying little sister. That was the terminology that I put before her name because she was the one in our family who was determined. I think I would label her the most determined of the bunch. And so she would just claw her way to the top of the family totem pole with whatever competition there was within the family. And then she would get to the top and pretty much turn around and dare us like, okay, it's doable. I've done it. Now you do it. And at first I really found it very annoying. But I discovered through the years the benefit of this go-getter in my life and the fact that she was not afraid to be her true self. Yes, it got her into a lot of trouble as she was growing up, but it also brought her so much fulfillment and so much success because she owned her own self. And what happened to me with Bernie that I still to this day put as one of the major things that changed my life was that one Saturday afternoon, she sat me down on the edge of a bed in the room that we shared. We were on our way to a conference, to a youth conference, where we were going to be mingling with a lot of friends from the youth group that we were a part of. But I had, up to that point, been very much a recluse. If I headed to a party, I headed there with a book. And I would pretty much sit in a corner with my nose in a book. If somebody asked me a question, I would answer with one word, and then I'd go back to my book. And that was my personality, as a matter of fact. I do recall a neighbor one day labeling me Screwface. And when I asked him why, he said, "Why don't you smile?" So my sister, I guess she noticed me over the years, that at home, within the confines of our private space, I was vivacious, I was outgoing, I would sing at the top of my lungs, I would dance like no one's looking because nobody was looking. And she was usually my partner in crime with all of that kind of thing. But then when I got into public, I was demure and reserved and quiet. And so she said to me, "You need to smile more. We're going to this function this afternoon and you need to smile more. And you need to answer with more than one word when somebody asks you a question." So I listened to her and we headed out that afternoon. When I got to the hotel where the function was being kept, I went and joined the gang of all the friends, and there were quite a few young men there. Some of them I actually admired and probably had my eye on. I don't recall now. But I remember that, in the middle of the conversation, I was practicing my smile. And I was smiling and feeling a little stupid, but smiling. And then they would ask me a question and I would answer and try to answer with more than just one word. And at the end, after I'd been there maybe about 5-10 minutes, I made as if I was about to leave. And all the young men were, no, don't leave. Why are you leaving? And I went, well, look at that. This works. So I took it upon myself to practice my smiling, to practice communicating with people with more than one word. And the rest is history. I have pretty much lived a life that has really been very much influenced by my ability to communicate with more than just one word, and as well I have now become known for what I've been labeled as someone with a killer smile. And I look back at that time and I say to myself, wow, who would believe it? Recently, let me say a little about my background, because this smile and this ability to communicate is pretty much what propels me through my life. I started out as a teacher. I was able to really gain the respect and the trust of the students because I was being my free, true self as a young teacher. Then I became a teacher of English as a second language. This time I was dealing with foreigners, some diplomats, some, leaders of industry, but who needed to learn the English language. And I found that I pretty much was able to reach both the top of the chain, as well as the regular Joe person, just by being my real self. Then that led me into the shipping industry, where I became an executive offering training solutions to the Caribbean region, and traveling pretty much. Had to do with the UN, and so I found myself traveling to quite a few countries once again, finding success not because of what I had studied, but because of my personality that shone through with my smile and my ability to communicate. However, after really garnering some success in the industry, I finally was able to live the dream. My dream had been to have a family and stay home to raise my children. I did get married pretty early at the age of 22. However, the children that I wanted to stay home to raise didn't come until 14 and a half years after I was married. And so the business, the career path took up that time, and I was very pleased to do that. But when my firstborn arrived, I was ready to regain my dream of staying home to raise my children. And that's what I did. 3 children later, I stayed and I raised my children until they were all grown, and now are out of the home. But as I got to the third one, I have 2 sons and a daughter, and as I got to the third one, about to leave, I found myself really harboring some doubts. I know that Bernie talks about my going against the grain, and yes, I have been someone who would pretty much go against the grain. I did in staying home, and I did in homeschooling for a while as well. However, as a parent, this guilt, I think it's born with the children, and so this guilt began to make me wonder, have I done a good enough job in showing my children that I am more than just mommy at home? I'd like you to know that I decided when I came home to raise my children that I was never going to be called a housewife. And so my passport actually has the nomenclature home manager. I've never forgotten. I've used the word nomenclature because when I went to get my Canadian visa once, I recall the gentleman said to me, "Oh, you're a home manager. Where is your office?" And I said, "It's at home. I manage my home." And he goes, "Oh, excuse me, I was not used to that nomenclature." And I found that so funny. So I have adopted and kept that nomenclature through all my various passports through the years. And I was very proud of being able to do that. But my children, I think, they thought that I pretty much just sat at home, probably decorated, probably did shopping to get more decorative things, they probably thought, and whatever else happened around the house probably just magically happened. And so I found myself thinking, they probably don't have such a strong idea of what a strong woman looks like. Not strong in terms of personality, but strong in terms of ability to achieve. And so, especially for my daughter, I asked myself, I wonder if she never ever saw me get dressed in a business suit, take the many trips that I did overseas and speak at the different conferences. And I'm like, I wonder what she thinks of her role as a woman. Well, I was to have the privilege and the pleasure of God answering that deep prayer that I didn't even articulate, but answering that prayer through the strangest ways. This year I turned 60. And in turning 60, a friend of mine said, Diane, you really should do something to celebrate this milestone. And it was especially important because 3 years ago, I had a brain bleed that caused me to almost lose my life. And so she thought, you really should do something. And I thought, I agreed with her. So yes, I would do something. Well, as I began to think, what would I like to do? I live in Panama. I'm a Jamaican. Most of my friends are all over the world. Most of my family are not here. No, apart from my immediate family, nobody else is here. I thought having a party is really just not going to cut it. I thought to myself, maybe people suggested maybe a cruise. I finally sent out a WhatsApp message to a group of friends and I said, I'm about to celebrate this milestone. What do you suggest that I should do to mark it? And I had a lot of different suggestions from different people, but none of them really resonated until a friend of mine said, why don't you write a book? Now, in full disclosure, I had thought of writing a book, not to publish, but to have as something that my family and possibly close friends would have, just to mark some of the things that God had done in my life through the years, quite a few remarkable things. And so when she said it, I thought, wow, that's a great idea. That's something to mark something as special as a 60th birthday. So that was about March. I set myself the task of writing a book that would be published before the 20th of July, which is my 60th birthday. Well, the rest is history. I have the book that was published both in e-version and in paperback, and all of that. The e-version was out by the 10th of July, and the paperback came out in July, and it has been really received with a lot of success. So I now am surprised to find myself with the title author behind my name. However, even with that, I found myself just thinking, well, I'm just a regular mom. I'm home. Yes, I have a book, but what is that? Until once again, my annoying little sister showed up. She said to me, Diane, you need to be a speaker at my conference. I'm like, what are you talking about? Speaker at a conference? She said, yes. We're having a global women's conference, and I think that you are a poster child for what what my book is about, and that is doing business your way. And as I thought about it, I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Well, this is when my annoying little sister sat me down and she showed me to me. She said, Diane, you have accomplished this and this and this, and you have come out of industry, raised a family, and now you are a best-selling author. You are someone who has done business your way. You need to tell your story, that it's never too late, even when you think things are not going the way you want to. And so I decided that I would take her up on this challenge. And I'm here to say to any woman, first of all, my little sister Bernie Davies knows what she's talking about. And now she has it for all to see and all to hear. She is a woman of wisdom, and her wisdom has helped me through the years. I had a chance to read through her book, even though I'm not a business person per se, but I found that the style of her book, the way she just spoke truth, just like in the same way that she sat me down and spoke truth to me on the edge of our shared bed, and she said to me, this is who you are and this is what you need to show the world. And I have had success after success by following that. I'd like to say, listen to her, I'd like to recommend her book because she does have a knack of helping us to come out of ourselves and show our true selves to the world. The other thing that I want to say is it's never too late. You might find yourself in a situation where you think, oh, I'm so much older now and I did have dreams, but life has passed me by. Well, I'm here to say to you, please don't do that. It's never over until it's over. There are things inside of you that you would never imagine. And until you dare to step out of your usual comfort zone and step into something that might be a little frightening at first, you might have palpitations even, but step out, do it afraid, and find out who you really are. There are things inside of you that are yet to be unlocked. It is never too late. I would never have thought, never have dreamt that at this stage of my life I would be known as an author. And what I've discovered now, to my surprise and a bit of chagrin, is that what this really is that I've now begun a business. With this book, I now have to be following up on marketing. I have to be following up on the receipts and the expenditures and all of the things that make up a business. And I'm learning that it takes discipline. And I noticed that in Bernie's book, she lists the kinds of things that you need to be aware of and that you need to follow in order to be successful. So it's not just showing yourself, but it's also applying yourself. And so I am so very thrilled to be a part of this group of distinguished women, to be able to say to you, it is never too late for you to begin to do business your way. It is never too late for you to begin to become acquainted with the person in the mirror, to embrace that person and to show that person to the world. And you, I promise, will be surprised at who you find yourself to be and how the world embraces you. And so I thank you for this opportunity to share with you. And I really pray that for those of you, if you are ever going through a hard time, remember that God works in the meantime, and you can find Him as you begin to explore who you are and begin to do life your way. Thank you so much.